What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Today is Friday. It's January 27th, 2023. My name's Jeremy. How are we almost done with this month? This is my first cup. And good morning to Liz, Rebecca, Kelly, Dennis, and all the rest of you out there watching live later or listening. It is Friday, and I am thankful for that. We've got some stuff to talk about, and then I'm going to jump in the car, and I'm going to drive, and I'm going to go see some martial arts friends that I don't get to see very often. Some of them once a year. In fact, I'm going to meet at least one person this weekend that I've only ever talked to. And in fact, they've been on the podcast twice. That's kind of fun. Kind of cool. Good morning, Brian. So the biggest news is that it's tentative. All-in weekend is sold out. I'm super pumped. About 2 months ago, Andrew and I set a goal to sell out by the end of January so we could shift our focus into planning the event, because the sooner we sold out, the less we could worry about the marketing and the more we could worry about the planning and putting together an absolutely incredible event for those people fortunate enough to attend. And yesterday I watched them bing, 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 bing. They streamed in. We sold, I think, we sold 3 yesterday with one person who is returning from last year. This is why I'm saying it's tentative. One person returning from last year who said, just the way my paychecks are falling, I can't do it right now. I can do it next week. Can you hold it for me? And that's what I've done because I have faith in this person. If that does not work out, we'll open that slot back up. And if anybody wants to get on a waiting list, because there may be people who cannot attend that have purchased their spot. We don't do refunds. But if we can connect people and all that, you are welcome to let me know. We will put you on a waiting list. Email me, jeremy@whistlekick.com. No, Brian. That's not what I mean. And Kelly says, hooray, that's awesome. Yeah, we're pretty pumped about it. You know, as I look around at what other groups, schools do for something similar to this, I continue to be reminded that what we are delivering here blows the doors off what other schools are doing in terms of overall value. And I say schools because I'm not aware of any group doing this that's not rooted in this. Actually, that's not true. Groups or schools. And part of it is, well, there are 2 things. One is the venue we're using. We're using it kind of at an off season. And 2, the relationships we've built. How did we end up with a chef? Relationships. How did we end up with this venue? Relationships. If I tried to do this event pretty much anywhere else, it'd be 5 times the price. So instead, the whole plan, and you have all probably figured this out if you attended last year, we will slowly march the price up as we get better and we get to incorporate more things, and it'll be a better event and we'll make a little more money each year. Shocker, right? We made a small amount of money last year. We'll make a little bit more this year. Great, because, you know, we're a business and we kind of have to make money to keep the lights on. And what would Whistlekick look like if it was my only job? That'd be kind of neat. So that's the goal. We're trying to get there, right? And that requires making money. Do I envision all-in weekend events happening elsewhere? Yes. as free training days pop up in other places and they build their own following and momentum, my expectation is that once we reach 100 attendees, we can probably get an all-in weekend going in those locations. So for those of you who are involved in other free training days, there's a bit of a carrot for you. Good morning, Zed. So this weekend, I will be in Atlantic City, New Jersey. About 9 o'clock, I'll jump in the car, drive to Connecticut, connect with past guest on the show, multi-time past guest on the show, Paul Milholland, and we'll drive to New Jersey with him and others. There's some other people on his end. It's going to be 4 of us. And we'll go and we'll hang out for a couple days, and I'll see so many people. Don Wilson will likely be there. Bill Wallace will be there. Cynthia Rothrock will be there. Alan Goldberg will be there. It's his event. Who else is going to be there? Nathan Porter will be there. I'm trying to run down the schedule right now. All the Superfoot folks, Frank Bages, Chris Natsky, thinking of the people who've been on the show. So many people. Now, in past years, I've tried to get content out of this. It hasn't really worked. We did a video once where I had Paul follow me around with a camera, and we recorded and did a bunch of audio, and we edited it all together. And it was cool, but the result coming out the other side wasn't cool enough. So, I got to say, martial artists overall, it's hard to make content for this group of people. It really is. So once in a while, we'll deviate, we'll step out of what we were doing and do something new and different. But for the most part, it's martial arts radio and things that spider off of that, because we've got a good system going for that. Kelly says, that's always a big balancing act, making money and making it as accessible as possible. And I don't feel... So I know a lot of people, as the price on things goes up, they start to feel guilty. I don't feel guilty. In a few years, all-in weekend will be $1,000. I mean, when we get there, I don't know. It's just going to be based on what the demand is, right? Supply and demand. We've only got a certain number of spots. We're going to keep bringing the price up. But we've also got free training day, which is completely free. You just have to get there. So I don't expect that even if it was free, everyone can't go to all-in weekend. Everyone can go to free training day, right? So everyone can consume our content. Our best stuff is free, and then we give you ways, if you want to do more, that you pay for, right? That's our whole business model. Today is a coffee day. Coffee is amazing. It's decaf. And so this weekend, it is billed as a training weekend. And there's some training, but if you've been to this event, the training is a little difficult because there are a lot of people. And when you get the folks like Bill Wallace, like Don Wilson, like Benny the Jet, who have a lot of name recognition, there are a lot of people who want to step into those sessions so they can say, I trained with Superfoot. I trained with Benny the Jet. You went to a seminar in Atlantic City for 40 minutes. Not quite the same, but I understand the motivation. And it's packed. It's packed. I think the last time I went, I ended up helping at the Superfoot session because there were just so many people. And I forget who I was working with, but we separated and went to help people just to clear a little bit of space. Oh, Stephen, I love you. My sifu is coffee. Carl, if you're watching this, that's a great idea for a shirt. For those of you who don't know, Carl is working on some of the apparel stuff on the back end. And the first release from him that he's spent a bunch of time working on is really cool, is about ready. I think Dennis might be I think it might be a little bit harsh on this, but I see where he's coming from. Not much training, more of a big old martial arts flea market. I see it more as a reunion. Good morning, Jenny. And Steven says, consider the idea yours. Enjoy Carl/Carl. Carl Lindsay, in this case. You probably met Carl. Carl, well, I'm not going to name names. Just in case people don't want their names out there. But you know who else is going to be there? And I'm thankful because I didn't get to meet her in person until, was it last year? Year before? I forget. Denise, who does the audio for this show. She's going to be there. There are a few competitions, one of which lines up with what she trains. So she'll be there. So we'll get to see her again. And that's why I go. I go because I get to see a bunch of people. In the early years, the first couple of years I went, it was a great way to meet potential guests and bring them on the show. But we've had just about everybody on the show. There are some people that have not been on the show. And if you want the behind the scenes reasons on why those folks have not been on the show, you're welcome to reach out to Andrew and he can tell you. Kelly says, good luck, Denise. Yeah, she'll do great. So that's this weekend. And then I come back Sunday. And then I leave on Wednesday. I did figure out yesterday, finally, how I was getting from the airport to my hotel. You know, it was only 6 days out. Figured, whatever, it'll be fine. I was tempted to just figure it out when I got there, but I arrived later than I would like to. My flight lands at 8:44. And then I've got to grab my bag. And then I've got to clear customs. And that could be 10 o'clock. Transportation options at 10 o'clock at night are not as prevalent as they are at, say, 3 in the afternoon. What else? What did I do yesterday? Went to the gym, did a bunch of work, watching the progress on the next email training program. I think this is our thing, guys. I really do. All of you doing the 30-day challenge, I think you get it. This is something I'm not seeing anybody else do. It's that trickle method here. 10 minutes. Just give me 10 minutes. Do this. Okay. Next day. Here, give me 10 more minutes. Just do this. Okay. For those of you who are doing that, when we get to the end, there is a quick survey I'm going to have you do. It's already written. Some questions so we can get more people to do the 30-day challenge because that's an ongoing thing. We're not going to just open that in January. We'll promote it for January, but it'll remain open through the year. So you can always jump in and do it. And if anybody's feeling like they want to go back through it, there's a way. I haven't gone through that yet, but we can do it. So when we get to the end, if I haven't done that yet, if there hasn't been an automatic way to do it, if you go to the best thing to do, go try to sign up again. And if it doesn't work, because it says, oh, you're already on the list or something, just email me and I'll fix it. Frank says, please excuse my lateness. No worries. And Kelly says, we're organizing for a long color belt testing tomorrow. Runs from 8:30 to 7. Wow, lots of coffee will be consumed. That is a long testing. Good luck to all of the testing candidates. I don't know that I have anything else to say. If anybody's got stuff that happened yesterday, stuff that they're excited about for the weekend that they want to drop in the chat, I do want to hear it. I want to know what's going on with all of you. I always do. And hey, somebody do me a favor, throw some thumbs up and some likes and some hearts and whatever, wherever you're watching right now. The feed is completely devoid of those. And remember, that helps spread stuff. All the likes and the comments and the shares that you're all used to doing, those do make a difference. Does any one of them make a big difference? No, but when you all do it, it makes a huge difference. Okay, there we go. Here comes 3, 5. Thank you. You're great. Love you all. All right. We've got some stuff from Frank. We did do the jokes yesterday because today is a bit more of a somber day. And we're not always going to do this on Fridays, but once in a while, if something of some somberness, if a day of somber, I don't know how you would express that, occurs on a Friday, we may move the jokes. So today is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Kelly says, heard Craig Wareham's interview yesterday. As amazing as I thought it would be. Yeah, we had a good time. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope everybody checks that out. Zed says, looking forward to class tonight and WWE Royal Rumble tomorrow because I'm a dork. Hey, there are quite a few wrestling fans in this group and within Whistlekick in general. So do not harshly label yourself. All right, so here we go. The Holocaust was a genocide that took place during World War II in which millions of Jews, as well as other minority groups, were systematically tortured and killed by the Nazi regime in Europe. Beginning in 1933, when Adolf Hitler came to power in Germany and implemented policies of racial purity and persecution of Jews and other minorities. Let's keep in mind that Jews were persecuted pretty much everywhere in the world at that time. The Holocaust reached its height in 1941 when the Nazis began the extermination of Jews in concentration camps across Europe, and ended in 1945 when Allied forces liberated the concentration camps and defeated the Nazi regime. The Holocaust is remembered as one of the darkest periods in human history. International Holocaust Remembrance Day was established by the United Nations in 2005 to mark the anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp in 1945. The day is held every January 27th to honor the victims of the Holocaust and to recognize the importance of remembering and learning from this tragic event. The day is observed around the world with ceremonies, events, and educational programs to honor the victims and to raise awareness about the dangers of hatred, discrimination, and violence. There are many ways to observe this day and to pay tribute to the victims of the Holocaust. Attend a local ceremony or event. Many communities hold ceremonies or events honoring the Holocaust victims on this day. Just as an aside, there's a really strong hook to martial arts here, so hang tight. You can attend one of these events to pay your respects and to learn more about the history of the Holocaust. Educate yourself and others. The Holocaust is a complex and tragic event that is important to understand and remember. You can educate yourself and others by reading books, watching documentaries, and visiting Holocaust museums. This can help you to learn more about what happened and to understand the importance of preventing such atrocities from happening again. Take action to combat hatred and discrimination. The Holocaust was the result of hatred and discrimination that led to the persecution and murder of millions of people. You can take action to combat these issues in your own community by speaking out against hate and volunteering with organizations that work to promote tolerance and understanding. Reflect and remember. Finally, you can observe International Holocaust Remembrance Day by simply taking a moment to reflect on the tragedy of the Holocaust and to remember the victims. You can do this by lighting a candle, saying a prayer, or simply by taking a moment to think about the impact of the Holocaust on the world. So, I think the big thing that I want to say, there are 2 points here that I think are incredibly important. We often talk about this small incremental progress, 1% better, 10 minutes a day for the 30-day challenge, things like that. We talk about it in a positive way. It can also occur in a very negative way. If you know German history after World War I, you know that the treaty that ended World War I pretty much guaranteed World War II because Germany was left with nothing. And that made people really unhappy, really sad. They had few opportunities. And the reason all of this stuff following happened was because as that slow, steady slide occurred, that 1% worse occurred, there was a scapegoat. And this is the other part. This is the part that I think is as much a modern hook as anything. If you look at where we are in the world, there is always a dismissal of responsibility and finger pointing at other groups. It's exactly what happened in the lead up to World War II. It's exactly what happened in the lead up to the Holocaust. It's very easy to dismiss that similarity. Oh, it'll never happen again. It's not going to happen again. It can't happen again. Go read your history and go look at how close where we are now is to, say, the late 20s, early 30s, even the mid 30s. Now, I've mentioned before, there's an elderly woman that I talk to once in a while. She's 93. And a lot of what we talk about is stuff that occurred before I was born. And one of the conversations we've had in different ways over the years is, how does where we are now relate to pre 1945? Now, of course, she wasn't terribly old then, but from what she said, yeah, there's a tremendous amount of similarity between where we are now and where we are leading up to that. Is it coincidence or not that we've got a bit of a strong military tone to things that are going on in the world right now? Probably. I don't think so. Gad says, I remember visiting one of the concentration camps here in the Netherlands as a kid. It had such an impact on me. I believe all children should be made aware of what happened to make sure it never happens again. And I think Kelly's referencing driven by fear and ignorance. Driven by fear, not driven by ignorance. How do you get the people that you want to rally around you to rally around you? You tell them that all of their problems are the result of other people. That if it were not for those people over there, everything would be great. Does that sound similar to a refrain that we hear kicked around in this country by pretty much everyone? Or I shouldn't say everyone, but by people representative of every group? One of the things that's interesting, and I have never been able to bring myself to read it, so please forgive that I am referring to what others have said. But Hitler's book, Mein Kampf, that he wrote in prison, is reported to be more or less a playbook of what he was going to do. He laid it all out. This is how you fix this, and then he did it. And if we look at why it was able to happen, it was because none of the steps were particularly large. They were very small steps, conducted incrementally over time. And it requires people to speak up. I've had this as a poster before, but there's a gentleman who made a very famous quote, and I'm going to look it up because it bears getting it right. Pastor Martin Niemöller. And this was, I guess we can call it a poem. It doesn't hit me like a poem, but it may you. First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left. There was no one left to speak for me. Might be able to tell I'm getting a little bit emotional. If you go back to the state of the martial arts, I talked about our lack of willingness to remove people from positions of authority, or at least ignore their authority when they are doing terrible things, poor things, unacceptable things, simply because of their rank or their standing in a group. I know so many people who are given a pass, and it's disgusting. And it's something that exists in the martial arts world extensively. And it only exists because we permit it to. If you attend I'm going to say this flat out. If you attend a school headed by someone who has done something that you know to be terrible, that on a personal level you know is terrible, and you continue to support that school, you are complicit, and in fact indirectly supporting that behavior. But where else am I going to train? You're choosing your own training over whatever those actions or things are. I'm not saying that not removing martial artists from position of authority when they should be, and by remove, I mean just if everybody in the school left, they wouldn't have that position. I'm not saying it's the same thing as genocide. I'm not saying it's equivalent to the lead up to World War II, etc. But they're on the same spectrum. One does relate to the other. I don't know that I would ever go so far as calling people out individually by name, but I can name. Give me some time in Facebook, and I could write you a list of 100 people. 10 minutes. It's not okay. And so when we look at Holocaust Remembrance Day, to me, it's the important element here is not let's make sure that genocide like this never occurs again, because let's face it, as a global community, we failed brutally in that. But what can we do on an individual level? And what we can do on an individual level is see all these precursor actions and identify where they're occurring in our lives and not turn the other cheek and just let them happen. If someone is operating in an unethical way, I believe you have a responsibility to at least distance yourself from that. It's the easiest thing you can do. Good morning, Nathan. Good morning, Andy. Gad says, when my grandmother was still alive, she told us stories about the German occupation all the time. A lot of similarities indeed with what is happening now. Kelly says, and social media makes it easy to do and rampant. Yes, it does. One moment. Yeah. Gad, that's a long comment. If you're on Facebook, you can read Gad's comment. Accurate, but long. Dennis says, I'm having deja vu. I recall this discussion from a recent episode of Martial Arts Radio. And Kelly says, it's so sad there are so many that you could list. Kelly says, I was once called arrogant and disrespectful because I refused to let someone who had done terrible things not participate in one of my events. Good for you. I'm glad you stood up for that. There are people that are not welcome in my life. There are people that I have found ways to not, certainly not directly and not indirectly support. I've created distance where it's possible, But I also won't revise history. There are people who have appeared on martial arts radio that would not receive an invite today. I will not tell you who they are. And I won't pretend like they weren't on the show. See, even the worst people do have good elements to them. I don't support cancel culture. I don't support removing people from society. But I do support not supporting. If instead of taking someone and labeling them indefinitely as the worst of the worst, when, let's face it, they've made some poor choices or some mistakes, maybe they were terrible choices and terrible mistakes, I believe they still have an opportunity to improve. And they have the ability to shed that history and become a better person. If you don't believe that, then you likely believe criminals should all be exterminated. And if you don't believe that, but you believe the first thing, your beliefs might be a bit incongruent, and I would encourage you to explore that. But if we give people the space by not engaging with them, we give them the opportunity to take a look at why people don't want to be associated with them. And hopefully that creates a willingness to change and to grow. So that's exactly what I'm saying. Kelly says it this way: if they lost support, maybe they would finally see that they have done wrong and change. It is not always easy to stand up for what one believes in. Throughout my life, I have come to realize that there are a lot of people out there that don't like me. That's fine. But I've had very few people who have ever come to me and questioned my integrity. In fact, I've had people come to me, more or less admit they don't like me, but they find me to be a person of integrity. And I'll take integrity over being liked any day of the week. And hopefully that all translates to all of you out there. The things that we do as Whistlekick, the things I do as an individual, hopefully you see that it is done with some consistency of ethics. That's really important. If you ever have a question, if you think that somehow I am misrepresenting something, if something that is going on is quite inconsistent with what I have said, I believe, you are welcome to ask for clarification. Note that integrity does not mean making everyone happy. I've told you before, and I'll keep telling you, I'm starting to speak up a little louder. We have a bigger platform now. We have more people paying attention. It's time to use that to try to shape. I'm done playing small. Vanilla is no one's favorite flavor. You cannot stand out. Sorry, you cannot be outstanding without standing out. There we go. Good morning, Stacy. And so with that, I will leave you for the weekend. I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope you will reflect on what we've talked about here, because it's important. I hope that if you have children, you will have conversations with them about the Holocaust or genocide in general, because sadly there are plenty of examples. Or just what integrity means and the importance of standing up for it. I think that's where I'm going to end. Take care. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. And I will see you back here on Monday. Peace.